Right, welcome to Ampocalypse with me, Damian FitzGerald, and today I'm joined by Piper Ferrari. Please tell me I've said that right.
Yes, you did.
Oh, perfect. That's a very
Mhm.
cool name, I can't lie.
Thank you.
If you're into the cars. Anyway, sorry. The vocalist from the incredible band Roman Candle. Their debut album, Unadulterated, is out now via Sumerian Records. It's a record that pulls undoubtedly no punches. It is really raw, intense, and emotionally unfiltered from start to finish. It is a banger, you gotta hear it. So today we'll dive into the album, the latest single, Blasphemous Act, and some of the moments across the record that really shift the tone in quite unexpected ways. But then, at the end of this, we're going to see how Piper survives in a world that disappears beneath the waves in her very own Ampocalypse. So Piper, welcome to the show. First of all, how are you?
I'm good. It is 10 where I'm at, so I'm just waking up. But
10
other than
a.m.
that, great. Yeah. How
It's
are
going to
you?
make you sick. Every morning, for some reason, I'm up around about 5 or 6, and it's not on
Oh,
purpose. It is a natural body clock that I've had since I was young, and I cannot explain it. But
honestly,
sun is
good for
shining
you.
here so much I had to close the curtains, otherwise it'll look
Mm.
like I'm being raptured at the moment. So, let's start off with the album. Now, the album, it feels completely uncompromising, and there's a real sense of sort of no mercy to it in the way it hits. Was there always the intention going into this record, or did it sort of evolve naturally through the writing?
Yeah, I think it honestly was intentional. We've been working we were working on this album for literally I think like almost 3 years. It took a while, but I know that one big thing we wanted different from this one compared to our last release is we just wanted something like angry and straight up and in your face. We had
Cool.
the album title actually picked out before any of the songs were written, so I think that having that title kind of helped us lead. That's exactly what we want.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to come up with the title for the book than beforehand, 'cause then you know where you're going with it.
Yeah,
And I have
exactly.
to say, what really drew me to this, because I'm in my 40s now, which terrifies me, but it brings me back to those days when I was sort of a teenager in a dingy club bar when I shouldn't
Hmm.
have been there, listening to my mates' bands, the proper hardcore beatdowns where I'd just fly into a pit. So it brought me back a lot. Now, there's a lot of emotional extremity sort of across this record as well. So, when you were writing and recording, how conscious were you sort of to push those limits versus just letting things come out naturally?
Um, I think it's a little mix of both. I think that the anger and then also the influence too, like you're mentioning, like we're very inspired by like the early 2000s. Sorry, my cat is being crazy. Sorry.
Absolutely
Um,
fine. I locked mine out because they always have a habit of coming on camera.
yeah, I should have done that, but then they just start like screaming behind the
Yeah.
door, and that was honestly worse than them jumping on me. But yeah, we were really inspired by a lot of like the early 2000s, like metalcore and emo music. So that being an influence, and then also like just wanting to do something angry and wanting to do something just kind of direct. It all just happened. It wasn't like yeah, I don't know. I can't really say that we in a way, like we sat here and we were like, yes, we want something angry, we want something emotional, but we also didn't like force it. If that does that make sense?
It completely makes sense. Yeah, you knew the direction you wanted, but
Yeah,
it sort of came naturally as well. So yeah,
exactly.
I
Yeah.
completely get you. Now, you've released a steady run of singles in the run up to this album. You know, it builds a strong following as well along the way. Did that sort of gradual rollout help shape how the album came together in the final moments?
It definitely did. The last track we put out, called Blasphemous Act, we actually recorded that like I want to say it was maybe 6 months after we had already recorded, mastered, sent everything out to our label. And then it was in that rollout process and in the process of, which was honestly like, that was very chaotic, trying to get like promos and little social media content and push out that many singles was crazy in itself. And then I had an idea for a visual and I had an idea for a song, and then we started working on it, and I was like, dude, this has to go on the album. This has to. So I think that crazy structure like ended up, that crazy rollout, the crazy structure of how everything happened ended up we ended up recording a whole nother song for that reason, and it's my favorite track that we have on the album.
It is a complete banger. I have a few more questions about that one later, so you might have
Yeah.
potentially answered it already. You prejudged what I'm going to ask, but you could have saved it for the special edition for the digipack release. But I'm glad you actually sent it out this way.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, just for my own selfishness. Now, looking at how the album came together, like, did the final version of it actually match up to what you originally had in mind, or did it take on a life of its own, so to speak, in the creation?
It definitely took on a life of its own. We kind of went very song by song on the album. And there was a couple things that got cut, some tracks that I didn't really think fit, and I'm sure the guys feel the same way. But yeah, it was sorry, I'm trying to find the right way to put it.
That's fine.
Yeah, there was a lot of moments that ended up changing on the album once I had laid my vocal track down. So that was the last step. We had all the guitars, we had the drums, we had the bass, and that's usually how we work. And then I went in last and I did vocals, and then we restructured a lot of the album around what I did vocally, which was really cool, and I think that gave it a new direction that I wasn't necessarily expecting from the beginning.
Now, from the tracks you've actually released, before the album actually dropped, which ones did you feel, you connected with most? I mean, you've mentioned Blasphemous Act. There's my ability to speak coherently.
I can't say
But
it
were
right.
there any others that really sort of surprised you in, how they came together?
Yeah, I think well, that one was crazy. I have to bring that one up again because that was, my bandmates were so mad at me. And I was like, dude, like this, we have to record this. Like, this is gonna be cool. The album needs this. Trust me, trust me. And they were like, we can't finish this song in 2 days. And I'm like, yes, we can. We did a whole EP in like 2 days. Like, we can absolutely do it. And I really pushed it. So that one, and then, God, what's another one? I think the way that Fire turned out was really surprising for me. That one, after we had vocals, just kind of went in a whole nother direction that I don't think anyone really expected it to go in. The instrumentals of that song, it didn't really sound super heavy at first. And then in the recording process it changed up a bit.
Now, we've already talked about Blasphemous Act a little bit, and it did, as you said, it sort of came together right at the end, and you forced it in there, much to the annoyance of lots of people, and they're just like,
Yeah.
we've done all of this, what the hell?
Uh-huh.
But just for the record, it's harder to replace a vocalist than it is the drummer, so you're safe, you're absolutely safe.
I won't tell him you said
Um,
that.
but what really was it about that track that made it feel essential? I know you've touched on this, but I think I want more because it's fascinating
Yeah.
because I don't hear this sort of story where an album's almost ready to go and then it's just like, no, this has to happen, this has to go in there.
So I think part of it, and it feels kind of crazy admitting this, but we were doing so all of the visuals that we had for the album, aside from Something Happy, yeah, literally just aside from the Something Happy release, like all the Spotify canvases and the little teasers we put out on social, those were done like 2 days before it came out. I think I was very unprepared for that part of the rollout, especially being like on a label like Sumerian. I didn't think that like you don't really think about that stuff when you're recording the album. And I'm a very like visual first person. I'm a graphic designer. That's my career. That's what I love to do. But I wasn't really thinking about that with the release. So for like months, every time a song was about to come out, I was scrambling to put something together super last minute. And I had this idea because I just picked up playing the cello again. And actually, it's my friend Taylor had this idea. And he was like, yo, you should put the cello in a song, and it'd be really cool if you had everyone stage diving around you. And I was like, that is so cool. Wait, I can make that happen. So then I was listening back to the album and I was looking back at like the songs that everyone really seemed to love and the songs that I really loved, and they were all heavier. And I realized the only things we had left on the release cycle were like kind of our softer songs. And I didn't want to announce the album is out with, a kind of emo song. Not that it's not good, I wanted something bold and in your face and angry. So I talked to the guys and I was like, listen, I already have an idea for a video. I already have an idea with everything. I know you have some demos written. Let's look at your demos and let's write something fucking angry. And it was even like when we were recording it, like there were some parts where, they wanted a little bit more melody, and I was like, no, we need just breakdown. And we need just caveman brain right now in this song, because that's what everyone loves, that's what I love, and I feel like that was just one thing that the album was really lacking, was just one fucking like in your face heavy song. So I pushed and I pushed, and I was calling our manager like, hey, is this possible? He was calling people, hey, do you think we can do this? And everyone was on board, and it worked out, and it ended up being my favorite track. And I think I've gotten that comment from a couple other people too. So it was it came from a music video idea and then turned into this is an opportunity to address something that I think the album is lacking, that I think would really tie it all together.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was this track that when I got the email with the PR for for your band, for Roman Candle, I watched the video, I listened to the song, and it was like I'm going to give the example of Ratatouille, if you've ever seen that Disney movie, where the guy eats the ratatouille and he instantly comes back to his youth. But my youth just happened to be, as I said, in those clubs where I shouldn't have been at that age, swinging my arms and just doing the windmills in heavy hardcore mosh pits. So that was my experience. That's why I really had to dig into this album a bit more. Anyway, I digress. I'm talking about my experience, not you.
No, I love hearing your experience too. I think it's important.
Thank you. Now, with this song, there is a sense of sort of almost barely controlled chaos. The dynamics feel like, they're constantly on edge, on the edge of snapping. And obviously, from what you've told me, that's almost what you were aiming for. But how did the approach delivering that vocally, without losing control completely, how did all that come together in such a short time?
With Blasphemous Act specifically?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. That one, we actually spent a good amount of time recording vocals. I'm not gonna lie. The rest of the song came together pretty fast, but I think we spent like 2 days in the studio. Which, another thing that I think I should bring up is our guitarist Jonas. He has a studio in Boulder City, which is like 35 minutes from Vegas, where we all live. So having access to that is really cool, because he recorded the album. We got it mixed and mastered by someone else, but having a space where I can just spend as much time, in there for free, and I get to like crash out and, throw a fit because I'm not doing the take right, or, act crazy. And yeah, that's really cool. And I think that part vocally was really hard. The one part of the song, the like run for your life kind of like softer bridge, I literally recorded that on the floor. Like, we set up the mic on the floor, and then I just like went off, and Jonas was like, cool, can you do it again? And I was like, absolutely not. I don't know what I just pulled out of me to be able to do that, but that was like a very controlled chaos. Like, you got to tap into something, for a very brief amount of time within yourself to be able to do something like that. Yeah, so it was a journey with that song for sure.
Now, I'd love to carry on talking about that tune, but there's other tunes on the album that like really hit with me as well. And one of the ones I wanted to ask you about was, and I've got to make sure I get this right. It's a long title. On Second Thought, Maybe Gaslighting is Real. I love the title, by the way, but that's why I had to write it down to make sure I got it. Now, there's a real big contrast with, the opening of this song. It opens, in an acoustic moment. It completely shifts tone from the rest of the album, even though it's for, less than 30 seconds. Were you aiming to achieve something that sort of that would put the listener, or take them away from the album briefly? Because, again, for me, listening to the record, it really was taking me back. So remembering where I was in the record and which song I was listening to at the time was a bit of a pain in the arse, because I was just getting into it. And then this one shows up and it's just got this acoustic start. So what was the thinking behind getting that little piece in there?
Yeah, I think it was nice to just have a breather. I think that the album is so chaotic and it's so direct that having just a space, even if it's only 30 seconds of just something that's just chill, I think was really necessary. That's also why we have the one, I think it's the song right after that, for Once My Hands Are Still, or maybe it's, I don't, the placement, dude, like I lose it all the time. We
It's
rearranged it
fine.
so much. But yeah, like those that song and then the intro to the gaslighting song, I think was important to just give some space for the listener to breathe and for us to as well.
Now, I do actually want to talk about For Once My Hands Are Still as well, because I really dug this song because it was literally a spoken word with quite an ominous beat in the background. What drove you towards creating something like this? Because I'm going to give a really weird link here, but I was like, the last time I heard something like this was William Shatner, where he did spoken word like albums and things, and I was just
Mhm.
like, I'm really enjoying this one. I was just, it was more like listening to a story. What drove you towards that style after, that all the heaviness of the rest of the record?
Thank you. It's so crazy. We almost cut that song. I was so iffy if anyone would like it, and it's been really cool because everyone I've shown the album to, or like anyone I've spoken to, has said that that's one of their favorite tracks. So thank you. That it means a lot that you're asking about it. But I think that um, the album is so angry, and I think that it needed like a story behind it to kind of wrap it all together. I think it just needed like yeah, like a backstory of sorts. Not that the whole album is necessarily about one thing. I think it's about a lot of different things, but I think the overall theme is rage. And I think that it was important to go back to like the first time in my life when I felt this way, and that's kind of what that song is about. And it's a fictional story, but it taps into that, and then it goes into like the revenge plot. I think that that was really necessary because there's a lot of themes of revenge too on the album. And yeah, I was really inspired by do you know Ethel Cain?
I don't. I
Oh
want to
my
say
God.
I
Okay,
do,
it's
but
not
then
heavy music at all. She's like pop music. But there's one song, I don't know where it's at in her album, but it's called Ptolemaea, and it's a similar kind of vibe where it's just weird, like ambient stuff and like this really creepy voice and like this whole story, and it does the same thing where it just kind of wraps the whole album together. And I was so inspired by that. I wanted to do something similar.
well, it's important to be eclectic. So although I've not heard of her, like I think I'm going to have to check her out.
I think you'd love it.
But no, honestly, I'm so glad you kept this song in because I wouldn't necessarily go as far as it's my favorite, but it was one that captured me
Thank you.
so much that, I actually sat back and listened rather than just trying to avoid slapping the guy next to me when I'm walking down the street by
Yeah,
throwing my arms. So,
so
um,
much.
so this track obviously is quite narrative driven, much like other songs in the record. How important do you think it is to actually tell stories or have a storytelling element in songs?
I think it depends. I used to be in the mindset where it didn't matter. And I used to just think like, oh, I just want something that is fun or something that's angry, something that people can move to. But then with writing this album, I found myself going back to songs that had not songs necessarily, the lyrics that had something to do with what I was dealing with at the time. And that this album became very much like an outlet for me during the process of us writing everything. So I think it wasn't important at first, and it wasn't an element that I considered, but then it became something that was really important. And then it became something that like I started looking for in music, which I never really did before.
Now, with the shifts in tone across the album, do you see Unadulterated as a foundation, or does it already feel like, this is where Roman Candle are pushing to go next?
I think it's a good foundation. I think next album we definitely are already talking about going darker, going angrier, not necessarily cutting all the melodies, but just taking what unadulterated was and what we started that with and just expanding upon it. I think we were really scared because our first EP that kind of, brought us here is just a very like it's just an emo album, and it's scrams, it's screamo, it's emo. It's not necessarily angry. There's only like one breakdown in the whole album. Which I mean is fine and people love it, but I wanted something more and I wanted something bigger, and Unadulterated was that for us, and I think we're just going to keep leaning more in that direction with the next release.
I think the title of the album actually encapsulates that quite well, actually, in just a nice single word. Now, I understand Roman Candle sort of started more as a creative spark, but it's grown into, this full band. How did that evolution sort of help shape the sound that we hear on this record?
Yeah, I think honestly, so our first album started with I was in this band called So Without, and it's just like a shitty screamo band. It was nothing special. But Jonas was in that band with me towards like the end of before we broke up, and that band fell apart. I was like, I still want to play music with you. We started Roman Candle. We wrote Discount Fireworks very fast. We didn't overthink it. We just kind of threw it together and then put it out there, and then that was that. And then that did so well that, I mean, like, dude, we toured, we went to Europe, we toured the whole US, like, we did so much off of 5 songs, and I think that was so mind-blowing to us that we were like, okay, this brought us here, we have the opportunity, this needs to be something bigger. It needs to be better, it needs to be, not necessarily, I don't think we ever used the word polished, but we just wanted something that was like, I guess, real. Discount Fireworks was real, but it didn't feel that way because we just did it for fun. We just did it
Yeah.
because we just wanted to keep writing music together. And then we had all these opportunities from it that we were like, yeah, this next thing has to be legit.
Cool. Now, I understand your live shows, and I think the video that you've put out, actually is mostly your live show, if I recall,
Hmm.
when I recall watching it, and it's been described as completely immersive. And as again watching everyone there, I'm there going, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm too old for this. I'll be the guy at
Yeah.
the back with the beer nodding along. But how do you translate, the intensity of what you create in the studio into a live show without sort of losing that edge?
Honestly, I keep going back to Discount Fireworks, but that happened with that album because when we started playing shows with that album, we noticed like we weren't a heavy band. We were the softest band on every bill that we were playing, but people were going fucking nuts for our set, and it was so surprising to me. Like I could not believe it. And it was even to the point where like I'd be on like Twitter, I'd be on Reddit, and I would like someone would post us in like the hardcore subreddit, and then people would be like, "This band isn't hardcore. This is just a screamo band." And then everyone would be like, "No, but you have to go to a show. Like their live performance is so different." Like, and that was really cool to me. So I think we leaned into that a bit with Unadulterated. Like there was definitely times where I was like, we need to simplify this. This needs to be like a mosh part. This needs to be a dance part. Like I want energy. I want people moving. That's what I like at shows. That's what I like to do. That's what I like to see. And it's so fun live. So I think it is just something we didn't really have to work on translating it. It's just something that happened. And I don't really know why, but it just happened, and that was really cool.
Nice. I do think there's something to be said about seeing bands live compared to just on a record. There's been so many artists I've seen where, I don't hate the album, I don't hate anything about it. I'm just there going, yeah. Then I see them live, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something different, I think, that brings
That's
out more.
For sure. That's part of the reason why for Blasphemous Act, like I wanted that to be a live video. That's what it is. We literally we shot the part with the cello before the show, and I had some of my friends, that was a little like we set that up a little bit, because I couldn't get that all set up like before a show. And then we just threw a free show here in town, and we had our friends play it, and everyone popped off and went crazy, and I really wanted there to be a representation of us live somewhere online aside from just like the random live video. Like I wanted something that could be like, hey, no, this is actually what we're about. Especially being like on a label like Sumerian, I think it was really important to be like, this is our roots. Like this is
Yeah,
this is what we're trying to do.
cool. So now that the album is out, what excites you most from this release? Is it playing the songs live that some people haven't yet had the opportunity to hear? Is it seeing how fans connect with these tunes? Or are you already thinking about what comes next? Are you already thinking about the next album, the next tour?
Yeah. No, I'm really excited to see how people resonate with this. I think my favorite part of playing live is like the dog piles, the stage diving, the mic grabs. Like that is like the coolest feeling in the world. Like to see people like screaming back what you wrote. So I'm excited to see that and see how people connect with that. I'm so excited to start playing new songs. Like I said, we have been playing the same 5, 6 songs for the past 3 years. So I'm excited to, throw something new in the mix. And yeah, as for the next album, we're talking about it. I know that the guys already have like a bunch of demos written. I'm gonna take my time with lyrics and vocals because it's so like painful to record that. So I'm not in a rush to get back in the studio and record vocals. But yeah, we're definitely looking forward to the next thing for sure.
Cool. Okay, now we have talked about the music, but now it's time to find out how you would deal with a different kind of chaos. So it's time to find out how you would fare in your very own Ampocalypse. So the scenario is simple. There's been a global underwater earthquake that triggers endless tsunamis around the world. The world is flooded, land has gone, humanity survives on boats and floating cities. Essentially, hopefully I'm not going to get copyrighted or sued by Kevin Costner, but it's Waterworld, essentially. So, the first question is, you're on tour when the first summer tsunami hits. Everything changes overnight. What's your immediate instinct? Stay with the band and figure it out together, or are you going pure survival mode and ditching the dead weight? Not that they're dead weight, just for the record.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a good question. Okay, my first thought would be my cats. They're probably dead. If I don't think they can swim. So I'd be sad about that for a minute. Just have to mention that. But I honestly, I think that my bandmates would be perfect in an apocalypse because they're big, scary dudes. Like I can't run off on my own. Someone will take me. You know, I someone will get me, and I don't want to deal with that. And I know they would kick someone's ass for me. For sure, yeah. And I think I trust them. Like if we're talking like we're in the wilderness and everything's fucked, and like I know Sergio can start a fire. I know
I
he
mean,
can
we're on
fish.
water, so if you can start fire with water, I'm
Oh,
impressed.
like oh yeah, that's right. Oh my God.
Absolutely
We're
fine.
fucked. I don't think any of us are strong swimmers, if I'm gonna be honest. So I'll stick with the band, but we're probably gonna die.
Well, we're going to survive this, and just for the sake of your cats, they were on tour with you, so they're with you. They're
Oh,
fine.
okay, great.
They're
Okay,
just
we're
they're just
good.
sulking that it's a little bit damp.
Yeah, they're not stoked.
And also they can help you fish if they're that way
That's true.
inclined. If they're that way inclined, like cartoons,
They're kind of stupid, but I think they try.
that's fair.
Yeah.
So in this new world where everything is an ocean, what role do you naturally fall into within a floating community?
What role? What are my
Yeah.
options?
Someone always has to ask back and put it back on me.
I don't know.
Um, I don't know,
Well,
essentially.
I don't think I'd be very important, or we're all desert dwellers. So like
That is
everything's
true.
underwater. Like I mean I can swim, but I'm not a great swimmer. I don't think I can really I don't think I'd be of much help for anyone. I think I'd end up being some kind of jester. Like they'd keep me
Everyone
alive
needs
for
to be
that.
entertained.
Yeah, I think me and the whole band we'd end up being on something like that where they keep us alive. We're like the personality hires of the apocalypse.
Well, you could also be the pet keeper, so everyone's pets are safe with you. How about
That's
that?
true. Yeah,
Nice.
that's a good idea. I like that
Now,
more.
with no traditional with no traditional venues or stages, how does music survive? Are you still performing? Are you taking your music to different floating cities on a little tugboat somewhere and playing shows that way? There you go.
Oh
There's
my
a way
God.
you can survive.
If that's an option, yeah, that would be so cool. I feel like we could just, if everything's underwater and it's all floating cities, we wouldn't even need to get, we could just get a boat and just play it on the boat, like to the
Yeah,
city. Like we wouldn't even need to like get off the boat. It's just
exactly.
like if we could play a show in the tour band, like that would be so sick. And that's basically that, but on water. That's cool. Yeah. I'd be all for that.
Nice. Now, if your band became your survival crew, who's stepping up as the leader, and who's most likely to accidentally fall overboard and drift into the ocean?
Oh my God. I unfortunately think I would step up as a leader. I think I just am the bossy one. That's the vocalist job, I think. And I think Jonas would probably accidentally fall overboard. I feel like he would be looking at something that looks pretty, and then we'd hit a rock or something, and he would just topple over, probably.
Well, you said you can swim, so you can rescue him, so he's not gone yet. He's just man
Okay.
overboard. So of course, supplies are limited, everything has to be scavenged or built. What is your unexpected skill that you think could actually be good in this kind of world?
Oh God. I honestly, like I said, we're desert dwellers. We don't really. I feel like I don't have any survival skills. I'm kind of scared now. If there's an apocalypse, I think I'm fucked. Like I honestly don't know.
It's like, do you know what? I feel bad now. I've thrown you into Apocalypse, especially a watery one. When you're from the desert, you're from Vegas. I gave you your cats because I felt really bad when you were
I
like, they're
know, you
gone.
did. You gave me
What
that.
am I putting you through? I feel really horrible now. All right, we'll skip that one. We'll skip it. Um, so, in a world that's, completely covered in water, what keeps you grounded mentally? And again, you have got your cats with you.
I think that's what it is. I think I'd have my cats, I'd have my friends. Um, it's kind of all I look forward to. So as long as they're all there, I'm stoked. I'd be down.
Cool. So, let's
Yeah.
be honest. You're surviving in this world long term. Do you think you're going to survive it, or are you going to become a part of the ocean folklore?
Of the ocean what?
Folklore.
Floor? Oh,
Folklore.
I think I'd survive it. I'd find a way, I think. I think that's
Excellent to
what I
hear.
would bring to something like this is I think even though I am from the desert and even though I am have no survival skills whatsoever, I think I am resourceful. In just an
Excellent.
everyday life, I will give myself that. So
Yeah.
I think I'd find a way for sure.
Amazing. Well,
Hopefully.
I think you were going to survive because, you guys are already floating around on your own little boat, stage set up already, bringing joy to the masses. Can you
Yeah.
just imagine a war going on water, and you guys are just playing the dirtiest beat downs as that's going on? It's just perfect. Let's
That'd
be
be so
honest.
cool. Honestly, I
Exactly.
think we need to make that happen. I think that needs to be a thing. I think bands need to play on a boat and they need to go to like a little dock. And that's the new touring. No more vans, no more buses. We're going on boats.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought you were saying we've got to make this happen as in the apocalypse. I'm like, oh God, no,
Oh,
please,
no,
no,
no.
let's not go there.
Yeah. I
In
love the ocean,
extreme.
but not that much. From afar.
Well, Piper, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Ampocalypse today. The album Unadulterated is out now. You've got to check it out to everyone that's watching and listening. It's well worth it. Piper, please come to the UK and play some shows for us. I might even leave the beer at the back and come down into the pit and then leave with a bad back. Thank
Yeah, we
you so
actually are.
much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's so cool that people are rocking with the album. It's the best feeling in the world. But we are actually going to Europe in September,
Oh,
the UK. I think a couple dates. I actually don't know the full run, but I know we have a lot of dates in the UK.
amazing. Do you know if you're coming to London at all?
We are. I think we're
Excellent.
actually two shows in London. I could be wrong. I got the email this morning with the full run. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 2 days in London.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Piper. It's been an absolute pleasure. Take care. See you later.
Thank Yeah, you as well.